All right, what is up, Anime Goatcast members? We are back with a new live. We're gonna be talking about Dispatch, the newest game from what's the
It's Ad Hoc Studios.
Ad Hoc Studios, which I believe is a which were a part of Telltale
Yeah,
Studio.
it's like the former game devs from Telltale.
Exactly. So Dispatch has been blowing up these last couple of weeks. Everybody's playing it. It's a superhero game, which is more of a choose your own adventure type of game where you choose what happens, and whatever you choose, there are circumstances and there are unfortunate results of what you do. And of course, my co-host Katie Cade, she has been playing this game. I've been watching it. I haven't got a playthrough yet, but I'll be getting a playthrough later on. So let me just really quick before we get into what we're going to talk about. How do you like the game right now? Is it something that you would recommend for anybody on Steam to play, or is it a wait till later kind of game?
Yeah, I really like it. I think that it's one of those things where like even if you watch playthroughs, it's not the same as experiencing it yourself. And a lot of people have been like more adamant on waiting until every episode comes out. But I feel like it's been a lot of fun, like waiting in between the episodes, like trying to piece together the story. Because even though it definitely has a lot of what's the word? It still reminds me of a lot of Telltale games. Like at its core, it's definitely different in that it's more like you're playing a show.
Hmm. Okay, so it goes back to the Clementine Walking Dead, where you would play an episode, then you have to wait, and you'd be mad waiting because you want to get to whatever you're trying to get to. You're trying to kill this person that just did something that you couldn't stand, or something like that. So it goes back to that, where it's something that you're ready to play the next iteration once it comes out, and it leaves you on a cliffhanger, or it leaves you on something that really has you wondering what's going to happen next.
Right.
And that's why we're here, because we want to talk about Robert's fate. Um, as you know, this week, I believe Wednesday, the new
Yeah.
episodes. Are there two new episodes or one?
Yeah, it's episode 7 and 8. They're gonna be the last ones
Episode 7 and 8 will
for
be the
this season.
last episodes of Dispatch, and you'll get to the conclusion of Robert's story. So do we want to go into Robert's story so far, or what
Yeah,
you
I
want to do?
can talk about what is you like a summary.
Yeah.
Basically, we start off, we see that Robertson the third is the third Mecha Man. So it's like a mantle, kind of like who else? I guess Batman sort of. Is Batman a mantle? No.
No, but
No, like Flash.
yeah.
And yeah, so he's basically taken on the burden of being Mech Man, which has ended up in him being in a coma after confronting his father's killer, which is Shroud. And during all of this, he's kind of just hopeless, and he's announced his sort of like indefinite retirement. Um, and then he ends up at a bar with Blonde Blazer, who is the first sort of superhero from SDN that we meet. Well, officially. Um, and so she tells him that, you know, we could potentially get your suit back together if you come and work as a dispatcher. And then he agrees, and a lot of stuff happens. You make a lot of choices, but overall, Robert has been building up the Z Team, which is a part of the Phoenix program, which is basically like a rehabilitation for these villains that makes them work as heroes. And all the previous dispatchers failed miserably at his job, but Robert's doing pretty good. And like I said, a lot of different things happen, and Robert has to end up cutting someone from the team. This is either Sonar or Coop. And then
Mhm.
basically, there's also a romance potentially between either Blonde Blazer or Invisigal, which is important.
With Robert. Let
Yeah,
me
with
specify
Robert.
that. Not between each other, but with
With
Robert.
Robert. And that's just sort of been where the game is at. In the last episode, you had to make the choice on whether or not you wanted to, reveal your true identity to the team or if you wanted to keep it secret. And then there was like a housewarming party for Robert. We also visited a villain bar, which led to the biggest conflict of the entire game, I'd say, where basically Courtney or Invisigal, she wanted to pretty much go through with this plan after Blonde Blazer and all of them had discovered that the Astral Pulse was in this warehouse, and that was going to be probably the night where all the villains went after it, which leads to a huge argument, which had also been building up like throughout the story. Chase, who it was previously on the Brave Brigade, which is the hero team that Robert's father was a part of. And he's kind of like was like a babysitter. He was really close to Robert when he was younger. But he is very set on the fact that Invisigal can't be trusted. She's just a villain. And Robert kind of rebuttals. He's like, just give her a chance. Like everybody started somewhere. And Chase at some point during the party, he kind of loses it on Invisigal when she's trying to go after this Astral Pulse, which leads to a huge fight that Robert's kind of in the middle of. Invisigal storms off, and it's then revealed that she went to go get the Astral Pulse, and Shroud. Long story short, Shroud shows up. She manages to get it out of this briefcase, and then Shroud kind of takes the briefcase from her. We don't know if the pulse is in there or no. And then Chase, he gives us his very sad, potentially last words, which is keep up to Robert. And then he runs, which it was explained in, I believe, the second episode that with Chase's powers, whenever he runs, it speeds up his aging basically. So, he's actually only 39, but maybe 39 or 35. Somewhere in his 30s. But he just looks like an 89-year-old due to his powers, and so obviously him running it leads to him having a heart attack we see at the end of the episode. So that's kind of where we're at now.
Okay. And just to reiterate, Shroud is the, I guess, major villain.
Yeah.
So KDK did mention Shroud, and that he's looking for the Astro Pulse. Am I right?
Astral Pulse, yes, that's what powers Robert's suit.
So yeah, he's looking for that. And if you haven't played it, play it so you'll know, so you can catch up. But basically, this is the gist of the storyline: is that the major villain is looking for that power or that artifact, whatever, however you want to call it, and Robert is trying to not have that happen, but he can't be a villain because that was a part of his powers. His suit was, am I correct? His suit was destroyed, or
Yeah, so his
Yes.
suit was destroyed, and that was the whole reason that he kind of joined STN was so that they could rebuild him a new suit. But also in the previous episodes, the last one, or episode 7, no, at the beginning, Royd, who is another member of SDN, has been responsible for building his suit, and they thought there was a breakthrough and that Robert could finally be Mecha Man again, and then it failed, and Robert there was like an explosion, and Robert left pretty much unscathed, but Royd had like a whole broken arm and everything. So we think it's potentially maybe going to be a plot point that Robert has some sort of invulnerability. But basically, the whole what we got from that scene was Mecha Man needs the Astro Pulse, and Royd couldn't recreate it. It's not something that you can just sort of recreate without proper
Okay.
knowledge.
Okay, so it's a special, I guess, power up or artifact, whatever, that he uses to amplify or help his powers in his suit, which he needs his suit to do. So yeah, that's that kind of catching you guys up to where the next episodes will pick up from. Now, I won't ask you to tell anybody your choices because, as we said, this is like a telltale where you choose your own path.
Yeah.
So you've chosen your path, and through that path, I'm sure you have come up with some potential conclusions, with some
Yeah.
potential next steps in the story. So hopefully we're going to get into that because as we've titled this is Robert's fate. So I feel like your choices are leading to what you believe Robert's fate is going to be in the near future, which comes out Wednesday. I'm sure those who are playing are very much ready for that. Those that haven't played this game, I would say, based on Katie Cade's description and her uh, how she feels about the game, I would suggest you go out there. And it's on what
It's
uh,
on Steam, and you can
PCs.
get it on PlayStation, I think.
Okay, so it's on Steam, potentially on PlayStation, the PlayStation Store, and maybe I don't know about Microsoft Store for
I don't know
Xbox
about
users,
that.
but you know, us Xbox users get the short end of the stick. So, Katie Cade, what are your thoughts about the upcoming episodes and kind of how those are going to play out?
Okay, well, I think first and foremost, after watching the episode 7 and 8 trailer, I think that it hasn't been confirmed, like I said. The Astral Pulse at the very end, we see Invisigal manage to get it out of this like briefcase, but we don't really see what happened to it. We see Shroud leaving with the briefcase, but I believe that Invisigal was pretty much able to secure it into her pocket, and she got away with it once Chase came and saved her. And that this is kind of the reason why we see sort of like a uproar within the city. We saw in the trailer Royd gets attacked, and I can't see him getting attacked unless it's something to do with Mecha Man. And Shroud knows Mecha Man has, a need for the Astral Pulse. He would be a reason. He knows that Mecha Man has some sort of connection to this um, in a way. So I think that is going to be a major conflict. Is Shroud is after Robert, and I think that he's going to try and figure out Robert's true identity somehow. He either knows it or he's going to try and figure it out.
Okay, let me step in real quick. So, do you think, based on what you just said, do you think any of his potential love interest will have a, I guess, plot into that? Maybe will either help Shroud figure this out, or maybe he can beat it out of him, or capture them and do something to him to get the
Um,
information he's looking for. Do you think that will tie into any of Shroud's involvement towards the end of this story?
Good question. Actually, that kind of ties into another point. Um, so first, I'll start with Invisigal. I think that she potentially, if you kick her off, I don't see her going with Shroud, but I feel like her getting back into the villain, back in with the villains. She joined SDN. It's kind of suspicious her background and why she joined SDN because she joined with a contract that basically said no questions asked. So we're not aware of what her past was. So even she could have ties to Shroud. And then when they were at the bar, there was the guy with the arms that Robert ended up like breaking. Said that somebody was looking for her. I can't remember if it was the Red Ring, which is the group that's tied to Shroud. I think it might have been the Red Ring, but somebody is looking for Invisigal. I think that she has sort of some skeletons in her closet, some ties to potentially Shroud and just the villain world in general. There's also another scene at the bar where whenever Robert is talking about the importance of trust in the team, she kind of winces, and it was subtle, but it was very much like the camera was focused on her. So I don't think she's a spy like many people are saying, but I think that she could have had ties to some of Robert's or Mecha Man's known enemies, which is Shroud, and she feels some sort of guilt about it. But maybe the last straw would be, Robert turning his back on her if she has to leave the team, and she just decides to go back and gets in with that crowd, and potentially ends up hurting Robert in that way. I think that could be something potentially. I don't think she's a spy though. And as far as Blonde Blazer, the other romantic option, I did not choose her, but I think that we will learn Mandy's backstory, which has something to do with Shroud, because first and foremost, I feel like Blonde Blazer has been very, kind of nonchalant with letting people know who Robert is. She was the one that said, Robert, make sure, we like to keep things under wraps here. Don't let anybody know your secret identity. And then every other second, like Waterboy, well, she didn't tell Robert what, but Royd knew who he was. Like there was a few moments where I was like, why does she not care that these people are finding out his true identity? So I think she may have something to do with it. And I definitely think we're going to learn more about her backstory through some stuff that becomes uncovered, potential ties to Shroud, and potentially the Brave Brigade, and more on how she got her red gem, which is basically an augment, which we know from comics. I haven't read the comics, I don't have the digital deluxe, but I've seen them from people posting it, and it's revealed that Shroud makes augments, and basically Mandy's power comes from that augment. And I think that, Chase's conversation along with the movie scene, which if you listen to the movie scene and the scene that during their date, if you chose Invisigal, which I did, there was like the plot of the movie was spoiler, yeah. The plot of the movie was something along the lines of a girl having a secret and then someone else finding out about it. It just seemed very foreshadowy if you really listen to it. And I think that Mandy is the one with the secret. And I think that Chase being suspicious about Invisigal was like a red herring. And really the love interest that you should be suspicious of is Mandy.
Mandy being Blonde Blazer, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So everything seems to be kind of tying together to end this short, in my opinion. Was it 8 episodes?
Yeah, it was 8 episodes. That's a whole nother conversation, but I feel like This is Ad Hoc's first game, and being an indie studio, I feel like they didn't have as many resources, but they still made a really good game. Like, I definitely wish that it was at least 10 episodes. I think 10 episodes could have been perfect because even the episode lengths, like individually, are only about an hour or so. And that seems like a lot, but when you're covering an entire team, and as much story and context for this entire game and for a choice game, I feel like you need a little bit more time.
Okay, I can I haven't played it yet, but I will agree with you there. But I have a question. And I feel like you've kind of gone over the plot a little bit for where we're headed in the story. But I have a broader question. As far as these kind of telltale um, stories and these telltale games, do you think this is a way to bring, I would say it like this, manga to life, where you can have these episodic games where you can build your own kind of universe? Do you like that type of that style of gaming? You think that could be a new something that manga could do? They could kind of build manga through games like this or through this type of format where you can kind of build your own stories and they can kind of, you know, go whichever way you want to go with the stories and build from that. Because I'm sure they
Yeah.
can gather data if like 95% of people chose this, or
Yeah, they show your stats at the end of every episode, like compared to all the other players.
so do you think that could be a potential, since this is anime goatcast, so I'm a, you know, kind of veer off into that. Do you think this is a way that they could kind of make manga, even though manga's, I don't think it's struggling right now as far as you know, purchases and people being involved with manga, but do you think this is a future of manga where they can create these type of games and create these kind of things to where you can kind of build your own manga or you can build their manga in a way based off of your choices and they can kind of build their storyline and everything from that?
Yeah, I think that that's a reason why this game has been like was almost immediately in talks for game of the year because it's very innovative in the sense that like yes, we have choice games, but I think that the sort of story that they went for is very much like bringing a comic book to life in a different way. And these are all brand new characters, so we're only learning about their universe and their story through the choices that we make. So there's not like a sort of like there's a choice game that Telltale made based off Batman. So it's not like we have any context. It's like basically all of your choices shape the narrative and the way that you're experiencing it for the first time. So I feel like that is definitely going to start maybe like a trend of more interest in using the choice game genre for stories like this that you know can be paired with like a comic, just like Dispatches, but then potentially a manga rather than making it an anime to give the reader or the player more choice within the universe.
Okay, going off of what you just said, so you think this could, I don't think it'll ever replace anime, but could this be something that they do to kind of build anime, or could this
Yeah,
be a way to really, really, I guess, excite anime fans more, is to build their own kind of story,
yeah, I
or
think
help
it
studios, yeah, help the studios build the stories? because you can imagine if you did this with Boruto or Demon Slayer or anything like that, if you built this through a game where they give you choices of where they potentially want to go and you choose your way, do you think they would maybe adapt that later on, or just kind of keep building to build a whole universe?
Yeah, I think they could definitely make like OVAs or like one shots based on where it's like an established universe, like you said, like Naruto, for example, just like a individual maybe mission where you get to sort of decide and your choices have an impact. Some I think they would probably use it for outside of canon because in an already established universe, like I said, this is the first time we're experiencing dispatch, and depending on what you choose, the story changes. So it might be hard to stay consistent with the actual lore. So I feel like they would do something like a sort of a one shot where it's its own little thing.
Okay, yeah, I feel you there, but what I'm saying is, if you have, say, a studio or shonen wants to do a brand new, manga, or create a brand new manga, would this be a good way to kind of build their story? Is what I'm saying is, if they use this format, and this is their initial uh start off to whatever the story is, by doing a game, by kind of animating it and using ad hoc, or one of these studios to kind of build their own, where, like I said, you said, where they get the information for each episode and they see what choices most people made, and they kind of build their universe or manga or comic or whatever, anime, from that, and just just go. I mean, that's ultimate fan service, I would say, because if they're going off of what most people do, then it's just fan service. But do you think this is a future that they could potentially have to build, newer animes and newer mangas and newer shows from this? Is this because just looking at The Walking Dead with Clementine, that could have been his own movie or own show or whatever, because it was that good, and the choices you made kind of really made it very interesting. So if somebody just never got a chance to play that, but they got to watch it in a animated environment, do you think that's something that they could do potentially in the future?
Um, yeah, I feel like you could build off of player what players chose to do, and make it like sort of its own story from what the players are doing. I think that could be a unique sort of take on the choice genre.
Okay. Well, um, based on what you've said so far here, are you excited about Wednesday and the new drops?
Yeah, I'm very excited. I don't really want it to end, but I just want to see what happens to Robert and potentially like if there could be a season 2 because I know in the trailer that they dropped it says season finale, so maybe they'll make this like a seasonal thing.
Okay. And I'm not going to go back to my other questions, but um, yeah, since this may be something that is seasonal, do you think this is? I'm not even going to go back to saying this could be for manga and anime and all that stuff, but do you think gaming could learn something from this, as far as being seasonal, having something drop, like, having episodes or parts of it drop every week or so, and then you have to wait till the next season or the next arc or whatever for to continue that game. Do you think that's do you think that's a something that could be done for gaming in the future to make
Yeah.
gaming interesting, and you kind of pay as you go?
Yeah, I think okay, maybe not the paying as you go, but I think that it's definitely going to spark a wave just because Dispatch, I think it's been on the in the leaderboard for Steam since it came out, like maybe after that second week. But it's got over 1 million copies in its first 2 weeks, which is really good for an indie game. So I feel like this sort of releasing a few episodes at a time thing has become the norm since maybe COVID, especially with TV shows, not video games. But I feel like with the way that um, Dispatch is, it works, and it's not like you're dying of anticipation. It's just like you're excited more so. And you also like, I feel like um I like having time to sort of digest things and like come up with theories instead of having it back to back to back. Like I'm sure once the full game is out and I do a replay, it'll be fun. But I feel like experiencing it for the first time in this manner has been a lot more fun than if they just released every single episode.
Okay. So you said it hit the million, so obviously it's going to become a a new norm for video games, especially probably more so on Steam than your console. But yeah, I think that this could be the new wave. And when I said that it could be a pay not pay per view, but pay per episode. I mean, that's how Walking Dead was with Clementine and all those. It was kind of a pay per episode or pay per new arc. But I'm saying this in a sense that you a studio or a um, company releases partial part of the game, 3, 4, 5 episodes, leave you on a cliffhanger, and then say, "Hey, you got to purchase, the next." And that's kind of gouging. I know a lot of gamers hate that, but I just feel like if they see this setup with Dispatch and it's working, because you said they're making a lot of money. It's an independent game, so you think big developers are going to look at that and be like, okay, well we can do something. We got big IPs that we can imagine doing well, they did Batman, but Superman and doing Marvel characters and doing other IPs, big Dragon Ball, other stuff. So do you, I think that this model is going to become something that they look at and be like, you know what, we can use this to make our little you know side stories or stuff that we can kind of pull fans into, and they're going to pay for it because they want to be a part of the story. They want to be a part of the making of the story. And this is something that works because it's fun. And like you said, you anticipate every week the new, this new storyline. So I just think it's a good idea. I don't know how well it'll work because, people are broke. So they can't just be paying a bunch of money, but they will for true entertainment. So with that said, I'm going to ask you, on a scale of 1 to 10, we're going to rate Dispatch so far for you.
Okay. And then I have another theory.
Okay.
So first, are we doing our rating?
Go ahead and rate it.
So far I give it a solid I'd say like a 7.5 to 8.
Okay. So what are your pluses and what are your minuses for
Well,
so far?
my biggest pluses is I really like all of the characters. I love the voice actors. They collab with Critical Role, which if people don't know what that is, they're like a group of voice actors and they play D&D and they have a new show coming out and they're the creators of Legend of Vox Machina, which is really good. It's a show. But more of the story is they're really good voice actors, and I love all of their work. So I think that was a really good idea to collab with them. And yeah, I just like all of the voice acting. I think that they cast the characters really good. Like Malevola's voice, Sonar's voice. He's a popular YouTuber. Um, then Punch Up's voice. I like Coop's voice. I like literally everybody on the Z teams. I like how Laura Bailey is playing Invisigal. Yeah, pretty much everybody, and I like their character designs. I also really like how some of their powers have what's the word? Not like punishments. That's not the word, but drawbacks. Yeah, like Chase's power, Invisigal's power. Mandy's kind of has a drawback, I guess you could say. Like it's not her authentic appearance, and that sort of gives her a complex. But yeah, I feel like it's a really creative idea, so I really like that about it. I really like Robert as a character because they could have. I feel like it would have been easy to just make him sort of like a bland, powerless, like sort of like a boring character to sort of upplay, I guess, everybody else's more interesting characters. But I feel like Robert is one of the most, if not compelling characters, and he doesn't even have any powers. Like, he's just a really interesting main character. And I feel like with sometimes with like choice games and just main characters in general, they're not always like, even though they're center stage, they're not the most interesting.
Hmm.
So that's another thing that I really like. And yeah, I really like the soundtrack too. I think it's really good. And
Hmm.
I love the gameplay, like the actual dispatching. For the cons, why it lost a few points is because I wish there was more. Like the game is called Dispatch. I wish there was more of that gameplay. Like if there was like an infinite mode where you could just keep going until you max out, that would be cool. Some
Hmm.
other things that I'm not a fan of is I feel like the love interests, um, even though, of course, romance isn't the forefront, it's been a really important thing throughout the game, and one of your like most important choices. And I feel like if you choose Invisigal's route, you miss out on a lot of sort of backstory to Mandy, which I guess makes sense because you don't have as many interactions with her. But I've noticed watching other people's playthroughs whenever they choose Blonde Blazer, Invisigal definitely still has a presence and an importance in the narrative. That Blonde Blazer, obviously, she's his boss. She's the reason that he's working for SDN, but she just kind of loses plot relevance a little. Like she's not even. I think if you choose Invisigal, I don't even think she was in episode 5, except to maybe like say hey to him when he woke up. That was like it. But yeah, I just wish that the two or that Mandy and Invisigal had the same amount of importance despite whoever you end up choosing. Because I feel like in choice games, the whole point is to, have a choice and have a certain amount of weight in the story. And when it seems like the game is favoring one of them, I don't think that that's like a good idea for a choice game. They both
Okay.
have different stakes, but I feel like they should have an equal amount of weight in the story.
Hmm.
And for the final reason that I kind of deducted some points is because I feel like up until this point, like there's not many consequences. And usually for choice games, like there's always like the heavy hitter choices. Like some of the dialogue is just like, oh, like for fun, you choose this, it doesn't really matter. But throughout the story, there's been so many moments where a character will be like, Invisigal will remember this, Blonde Blazer will remember this, and then it's never like brought up in moments where I feel like it should have been. And one of these is like, for example, whenever you get the choice to um, kick out Gollum from the conference room, whenever he like pushes and shoves Robert, um, it said Gollum will remember that, and he does when you're dispatching. Like he gets mad and he won't go if you try to send him because that's the option that I had ended up choosing. But later on in episode five, no, yeah, episode five, whenever they were at the taco place, and if you choose to reveal Robert's identity, true identity to the team, and Flambe attacks him, Gollum comes to his defense. And I guess it makes sense since they kind of had made up during the bar scene when he gave Gollum drinks since he couldn't come inside. But, I feel like stuff like that, it would make more sense for a different character. Like, there's no really bad blood despite some of the earlier interactions, if that makes
Mhm.
any sense.
Okay.
Like, it seems like some of our choices just kind of get forgotten.
Okay. I mean that makes a lot of sense because that's the purpose of the game is to for your choices to kind of resonate with all characters or the characters that are involved. So it makes sense. So with that said, um, what is your anticipation level for Wednesday when it comes out?
Anticipation. Like, what am I thinking is going to happen?
No, I'm just saying how I guess your excitement level.
Oh, I'm really excited. I'm kind of scared, maybe, for what's gonna happen because I feel like there's something that no one is expecting that'll happen. Like so far, this game has been a bit predictable, I think. But I just have a feeling that one of the routes or maybe the endings for Robert is just gonna be completely like nobody saw this coming at all. And it would be nice if I got to play through the game multiple times before seeing spoilers, but that's just kind of, with the internet, it's inevitable that at least one of the endings will be spoiled before I get to it. So, as long as I get to my ending for my first playthrough, I think I'll be happy with no spoilers. But yeah.
Well, for all those out there that are playing it, no spoilers. Let Katie Cade get her uh, conclusion that she's wanting to get without knowing what to choose or what you guys are choosing and what the outcome is, which is common courtesy to you know those people that play games that are choose your own kind of adventure. Don't spoil it. With that said, we're going to kind of, I guess, wrap this one up. Appreciate you guys for watching and enjoying Anime Goatcast. And we're hoping to expand a little bit more. We're hoping to do a little more. I know we're kind of bare when it comes to content. Katie Cade says she's going to fill the slots of content here soon. So be on the lookout for Katie Cade. As you see, her avatar is Momo from Don Da Don. Don Da Don. Hopefully, I'm saying it correctly. Uh, we we have been unfortunately neglecting our uh, our reviews of the upcoming or the past seasons. So maybe we will do a long review of seasons 1 and 2, and 3 is probably coming out. When is 3 coming out?
It's in production right now.
So 3 is in production. So we will be waiting for that, but we will try to do something to show or to let you guys know our thoughts on the past seasons so far of Don to Don. Um, Appreciate you guys checking out our Demon Slayer Infinity Castle Part 1 review. We will be doing, obviously, Part 2 later on. And, we'll be doing some more stuff on Demon Slayer because I'm a huge Demon Slayer fan. So I'll probably be doing some more drops on that. We'll get the whole crew back together. We got Jed's. He's been gone for a while, so we got to do something with Jed's here soon. And probably some tier lists. We haven't done many tier lists
Maybe
for
Dan
some of
Dan
these.
tier list.
What was that?
Maybe Dan to Dan tier list or Don to Don
Yeah,
tier.
yeah. We're gonna do some Don and Don. We're gonna do some Demon Slayer tier list as well to kind of let you guys know what we think about the different Hashira, the different characters, the different Upper Moon demons. And I gotta show some love to my boy Okaroon, so we know we gotta do some Don to Don stuff. So with that said, any parting words, KDK?
Yeah, I have one more point I wanted to say because I feel like we didn't really talk about Robert's fate, and this is what the
Oh,
video said.
okay, okay. Well, my fault. I rushed through it a
Um,
little bit.
but I won't really elaborate because I don't have any really reason to say this, but I just have a feeling. Um, I think that one of the most important choices for the very end will be Robert having to choose between Mecha Man and his team, Z Team. So, yeah.
And the only Z team I know is Yamcha, Tien,
Nah,
Krillin,
we're not
Piccolo,
talking about them right now.
Gohan, Vegeta. That's the Z team
Prism,
I know.
Coop, Phenomenon,
Okay. My
so
girl
much.
Prism. My girl Prism.
Yeah.
Coop. All the rest
Gal,
of them.
Molecular, Fombe.
Okay. They're interesting group, but like I said, the one I know is they happen to be able to summon Shinron. But as far as Robert's fate, I would doubt they would do something drastic to him in this storyline. But you just never know because I guess they're trying to make a pretty big splash with their first go around with this choose your own adventure type thing, this telltale, pick 'em type game. So they might go big and say, they might pull Clementine and
Kill
his.
him.
What'd you say?
I said, and kill him.
I wasn't going to go that far, but I was just going to say maybe they're going to go big like that and kind of end his chapter and kind of go into something new. So maybe another character will kind of take the forefront after
Man,
this.
I don't know. Because if I have a feeling that he's gonna die because it's kind of foreshadowed. He literally says in the first episode, like, um, the family legacy is dying in that suit, which, of course, that just means Mecha Man's dying in that suit, which is why I think he's gonna have to give up Mecha Man. But in the last episode, or it was either the last episode or episode 5, he was on the floor and he was like, "Yeah, like I've always thought that my fate was just going to be dying in the soup, but now I'm considering other things." And his thought process has come from working with Z Team. Like he never thought about that before he was in this position, and that's why I think he's going to ultimately have to choose between Mecha Man or Z Team. And I think for Robert as a character, um, narratively, while Mecha Man is definitely like a part of who he is, he wants to be a hero. There's a dialogue also, with Invisigal where you can say, I think I remember this, um, you know, Mecha Man isn't what makes me a hero. The suit's not what makes me a hero. So he can still be a hero by being a dispatcher. And I think that's kind of a part of the story, like redemption, um, and your powers don't define you. And Yeah, and then in the very beginning, another interesting line that's like my favorite from the whole game is from the first episode, and it's when Blonde Blazer flies off of the seat and she tells Robert, "I'm not done saving you," kind of implying that he's like a damsel in distress because he doesn't have his suit anymore. But I feel like in the end he'll kind of prove that he doesn't need the suit, even though Mecha Man has been saving Los Angeles for generations, and it's an important part of Robert's character. I feel like it should be over, and he should sort of embrace this new position.
Okay, that's
Oh,
a
and also the last episode is called "The Death of Mecha Man," I think. So that's another
well,
thing.
that's a spoiler. I mean,
I mean, that's what it's
I don't
called.
know.
You can go on
It
that
can
to
be
see.
open ended though. You can take that
Yeah.
several different
So
ways.
I think that it'll be a choice, basically, like giving it up or I don't know. Maybe it'll be like you can voluntarily give it up or you just get killed. I don't know.
So could that mean maybe the mentality of Mecha Man being the good guy? Maybe he switches roles, and as you go into the next season, he's the villain, and you know maybe you take the mantle of Blonde Blazer or Invisigal, or one of the other Z Team members. But yeah, death of a character could be the death of that mentality, the death of that. You know,
Yeah.
it could
Actually,
lead to
I'm
him being
trying to I'm
somebody
trying
else.
to
Yeah.
I'm trying to confirm if that's what it's called. I think it's not even called that.
Well, we're giving false information, so we're gonna. But nah. But either way, if you haven't checked out Dispatch, I suggest you check it out. I haven't got a chance to play it yet because KDK's been full force on that, but she did say once she's finished, I can get a save slot so I can go through the game. We've watched Corey play it, we've watched RDC play it. The big heavy hitters have played it and chosen their own paths. So
Very interesting seeing what other people choose.
absolutely, and that I think that's the beauty of it because you can kind of choose what you want to do, and I guess we'll find out tomorrow, or not tomorrow, but Wednesday, if your choices lead to a good ending.
Yeah.
So, with that, I am done with what I have to say. Is there any other information you want to give about Dispatch?
No, I think we covered everything.
Okay, and if you've gotten this far throughout the video, we're going to try to do some interactive stuff, maybe a Discord where you guys can, we can all interact. But we definitely want to hear what you guys have to say about Dispatch, and if you're enjoying it, uh, what kind of choices you're making, and if KDK is making the craziest choices in the game, let us know in the comments. Let us know what you think about Dispatch so far, and definitely make sure you come back to Anime Goatcast. Make sure you like, subscribe, help us out as we're trying to grow. If you're in the well, I guess it's kind of early, but if you're in the Houston, Texas area, this summer we will be trying to go to DreamCon. So if you want to check out Anime Go, I'm gonna try to work on a new logo. We're gonna try to up the up the quality of Anime Goatcast. But if you're there, we'll be there. So maybe let us know, and maybe we can meet up, talk anime, what have you. But either way, as I said, Jeds will be back sometime soon, and we're here with myself, CW, Katie Cade. Katie Cade, any parting words before we go ahead and close up this live stream?
Not really, but Anime Goatcast will make a return.
Yes, we will definitely make some more returns, and we will do some more interactive stuff. As I said, we're going to get back into our little tier list, and just make sure you guys help us out. Make sure you guys come back, and and definitely hit us up in the comment sections to let us know what you guys think about Dispatch and whatever else we got going on. So thank you, and I believe that'll do it for tonight.
All right, goodbye.